Good afternoon, Trojan fans. This is the one we've been looking for, waiting for, where our St. James Trojans are going to take on the host team of the Spanish Fort Invitational Tournament, the Spanish Fort Toros. St. James so far this tournament has defeated Mary Montgomery at 8:30 this morning. Then we played St. Michael High School out of Fairhope, and we're 2-0 so far in the tournament, and we're fixing to play, like I said, host team perennial power Spanish Fort. St. James is warming up. Let's see if I can get a better angle for you. St. James is warming up. Offensive plays. See if that's a little better for you. Sorry about the delay there. St. James is working on their offense, practicing their plays. We got about 6 minutes left. This will be the last match in pool play for our Pool A. And the top two teams, as a matter of fact, the winner of this match will be the top seeded team, and the loser of this match will be the second seeded team. So you're looking at the top two teams in Pool A. We will play the top two teams in, or maybe even the 3 or 4 team. I'm not sure how the bracket's going to be set up, but we'll play teams that in Pool B for this tournament. St. James working on practicing their practice serves now. Our serves for this tournament have been extremely strong, extremely well. We started out against Mary Montgomery, the first match of the day. A lot of energy, very rusty. But our serves, by and large, the first two matches of this tournament, probably shouldn't have said anything because we're hitting the net pretty steady. I've seen about 12 service errors in practice, so maybe this get it out of the way, out of practice now. The Trojans have finished their warm-up period. The Toros will take their practice time. And like I said, we're 3 minutes, a little less than 4 minutes. 3 minutes and 45 seconds left before we play. The Toros are very good, very strong. They only have 5 seniors on this year's team. They're a very well coached, well-disciplined team. Trying to get coach's attention. She's focused. The Toros are practicing their serves now. We got about a minute and 10 seconds left. Trojans will be on the right side of the court and the Toros will be on the left side of the court. Toros in the pink jerseys and the white numbers. The Trojans in the long sleeve white jerseys and the navy blue numbers. Again, this will be a 2 sets out of 3 match. This is the last match in Pool A play today. Again, both of these teams will be going to the gold bracket. This match will determine who finishes first and who finishes second. Both teams huddling up before the Trojans prepare to meet the Toros at the net. Wish them good luck. Go the Trojans and the Toros at the net. And it's getting loud. Trojans take the court. Trojans will start out with Emily Poundstone, Emily Olsey, Kathleen Wright, Lizanne Livings, Bailey Williams, and Carson Ann Crow. The Trojans will be serving to the Toros first. The down referee checking the lineups and player positions. Rolls the ball out to Emily Poundstone. We're about to get this thing started. Poundstone readies to serve to the Toros. Serve goes over, floats it into the back right corner. The Toros set up their offense. Roll picked up by Bailey Williams. Gets it to Poundstone, over to Kathleen Wright. The Toros dig that attack. Blocked at the net by Lizanne Livings and Emily Olsey. Olsey and Livings team up for the first point. St. James leads Spanish Fort 1-0. Poundstone floats another one into the back right corner. That's a scramble mode. Ball's out of bounds. Point for St. James. St. James leading Spanish Fort 2-0. Poundstone floats one into the back left corner. Point for the Toros. 2-1 St. James. Side out to the Toros. Number 12 for Spanish Fort goes back to serve to St. James. Serve comes in, played by Carson Ann Crow. She gets it to Poundstone. Poundstone to Olsey. Ball's dug up. Hustle play by Emily Poundstone, getting the ball over. That's a kill for the Toros, and we're all evened up at 2. Nice hustle play by the Trojans to get the ball back over the net. We're all tied up. St. James 2, Spanish Fort 2. Serve comes in, played by Bailey Williams. Gets it to Poundstone. Kathleen Wright with a kill in the corner. Poundstone to Wright. St. James leading now 3-2. Liz Ann Livings goes back to serve for the Trojans. She floats it into the back right corner. Toros set up their offense. Touched at the net and goes out of bounds. That's a point for the Toros. And we're all tied up at 3. St. James 3, Spanish Fort 3. Number 15 for Spanish Fort serving to St. James. Serve comes in, played by Liz Ann Livings. Gets it to Poundstone, back to Crow, down the line. That's a kill for Carson Ann Crow. Poundstone to Crow. St. James takes a 1-point lead. Alan Browning, number 8, comes in for Kathleen Wright and will be serving for St. James. St. James leading 4-3 over Spanish Fort. Browning floats one into the middle of the back row. Attack error by the Toros gives St. James a point, and they lead 5-3. Browning floats a slow one in there. Nice serve. They dig the serve up. Ball's long. Oh, caught a touch at the net. Point for the Toros. St. James leads 5-4. Ball comes in, played by Liz Ann Living. She gets it to Poundstone, back sets it to Carson Ann Crow. Attack dug up by the Toros. Nice kill by the Toros, and we're all evened up at 5. St. James 5, Spanish Fort 5. Ball comes in, played by Carson Ann Crow. She gets it to Poundstone, back sets it to Bailey Williams. She's blocked at the net, and the ball falls down on St. James side of the court, and the Toros take a 6-5 lead over the Trojans. Serve comes in, played by Emily Olsey to Poundstone, back to Carson Ann Crow. Dug up by the Toros. They set up their attack. Touch at the line, played by Liz Ann Living. She gets it to Poundstone. Back to Carson Ann Crow. Off the block and down. Point for St. James. Poundstone to Crow. Carson Ann Crow, second kill. Ashley White comes in for Emily Poundstone as Emily Olsey goes back to serve for the Trojans. We're all tied up at 6. Olsey floats one into the back left corner. Ball's down. That's an ace for Olsey. St. James takes a 7-6 lead over Spanish Fort. Olsey goes back, floats another one into the middle of the defense. They set up their attack. Blocked by Ashley. Ashley White blocked at the net. Point for St. James. They lead Spanish Fort now 8-6. Olsey back serving for the Trojans. Oh, she hits the tape and it rolls over. That's the second ace for Olsey. St. James up now 9-6. Olsey floats another one into the middle of the defense, close to an overpass. Pushed up by Alan Browning. Ball saved. Overpass dumped over by the Toros. Side out to Spanish Fort. St. James leading now 9-7. Number 5 for Spanish Fort goes back to serve to the Trojans. Serve comes in, played by Carson Ann Crow. She gets it to Olsey. Olsey back sets. It's a double hit on our set. Point for Spanish Fort. St. James leading now 9-8. Serve comes in, played by Alan Browning. Pushed and blocked at the net. Bailey Williams tried to push the ball back over the net, but she was blocked by the Toros. We're all evened up at 9 now. St. James 9, Spanish Fort 9. Serve comes in, played by Bailey Williams. She gets the ball, Liz Ann Livings. Ashley White rolls it over the defense. The Toros set up their attack. Tipped at the line. St. James called by a net violation. Not sure how that happened, didn't see it, but the Toros get the point and they lead St. James now 10-9. Serve comes in, played by Carson Ann Crow. She gets the ball to Olsey. Olsey to Ashley White, blocked at the net. St. James couldn't get the ball back over the net after being blocked. Score now is Spanish Fort 11, St. James 9. Serve comes in, played by Bailey Williams. Overpass. Ball appeared to be caught and pushed back over the net, but that's okay. Point for Spanish Fort on the overpass. Spanish Fort leading St. James 12-9. Serve comes in, played by Bailey Williams. Ball goes out of bounds. Point to the Toros. Spanish Fort leading St. James now 13-9. Serve comes in. Alan Browning plays it off the net. And Carson Crow gets it over the net. Blocked by Ashley White again. Nice play by Ashley White and Bailey Williams on an assist. Carson Ann Crow goes back to serve for the Trojans. Score Spanish Fort 13, St. James 10. Carson Ann Crow floats one into the middle of the back row. The Trojans, or the Toros set up their offense. Carson Ann Crow gets it to Olsey. Olsey back to Liz Ann Livings. Ball's hit out of bounds. Attack error by the Trojans gives side out to Spanish Fort, and Spanish Fort leading St. James now 14-10. Libero for Spanish Fort comes in, serves. That's an ace for Spanish Fort, and they lead St. James now 15-10. Serve comes in, played by Liz Ann Livings. Point for the Toros. Score now, Spanish Fort 16, St. James 10. Serve comes in. Played off Liz Ann Livings and out of bounds. Timeout, St. James. Score on the court, Spanish Fort 17, St. James 10. The Toros break their huddle and take the court. St. James breaks their huddle and takes the court. I got some catching up to do. Number 3, the libero for Spanish Fort, back serving to St. James. St. James is down 17-10. Serve comes in, played by Liz Ann Livings. She gets it to Olsey, back to Liz Ann Livings. Through the block and out of bounds. That's a kill for Liz Ann Livings. Olsey to Livings gets us back to 17-11, side out to St. James. As Kathleen Wright comes in for Alan Browning and Bailey Williams serving for the Trojans. Serve goes to the middle of the back row. Toros set up their offense, blocked at the net. Carson Crow gets the ball over. Olsey gets it to Ashley White. She rolls it over the block. They pancake it up. Nicely dug up by Lizanne Livings. Gets it to Olsey. Back to Ashley White. Olsey gets the ball back to Ashley White. Oh, on the line, Ashley White with the kill. Nice hustle play by the Trojans, keeping that ball alive and in play, and then they get the point. St. James trailing now 17-12. Bailey Williams floats it into the middle of the back row. Roll coming over for St. James, pushed up by Olsey. Kathleen Wright pushes it over to Ashley White. Oh, that ball's long. Doggone it. Side out to Spanish Fort, and they lead St. James now 18-12. Nice time for a service error. Point goes to St. James, and we got a side out as Emily Poundstone comes in for Ashley White. Poundstone serving for the Trojans. Trojans trail 18-13. Poundstone floats it into the middle of the back row. Toros set up their offense, tipped over. Nice hustle by Poundstone to try to get the ball back up, but the ball hits on St. James court. St. James side out to Spanish Fort, and they trail Spanish Fort 19-13. Serve comes in, played by Carson Ann Crow. She gets it to Poundstone. Poundstone to Olsey. The Toros called for a net violation, so we got a side out and a point for St. James. St. James trailing by 5. The scores: Spanish Fort 19, St. James 14. Lizanne Livings back serving for the Trojans. Oh, doggone it. Service error, gives the ball right back to them. Side out to Spanish Fort, and they lead St. James now 20-14. Serve comes over, played by Carson Ann Crow. She gets it to Poundstone, back sets it to Kathleen Wright. Cross court roll over the block. Ooh, shot down the line. There's a nice kill by the Toros. Point for Spanish Fort. They lead St. James now 21-14. Serve comes in, played by Bailey Williams. She gets it to Poundstone. Poundstone to Crow. Ball goes into the net and falls on St. James' side of the court. Point for Spanish Fort, and they lead St. James now 22-14. Serve comes in, played by Bailey Williams. Gets it to Emily Poundstone to Emily Olsey. Double hit called on our set. Timeout St. James. Score on this first set: Spanish Fort 23, St. James 14. Spanish Fort breaks their huddle. They lead St. James 23-14. Trojans huddle up and break huddle, take the court. We need to side out right here. Serve comes in, that's long. She didn't know what to call. That ball's long. It's a service error on Spanish Fort, gives St. James a side out. Alan Browning comes in for Kathleen Wright, and Browning will be serving for the Trojans that trail Spanish Fort 23-15. Browning floats one into the back row. Toros set up their attack. A nice attack by the Toros attacker, and that gets them to set point and a side out. They lead St. James now 24-15. Serve comes in, played by Alan Browning. She gets it to Poundstone. Poundstone to Crow in the middle. That's a kill. Carson Ann Crow's third kill. St. James gets a side out. Ashley White comes in for Emily Poundstone as Emily Olsey goes back to serve for the Trojans. They trail 24-16. Olsey floats one into the back row. Toros set up their attack. Nice attack. Ball, Ashley White gets the ball back over for the Trojans. Nice. Carson Ann Crow with a kill. They tried to catch him asleep. Carson Ann's not sleeping. She hit it over all the blockers to the back. Point for St. James. They trail now by 7. Score, Spanish Fort 24, St. James 17. Olsey floats one into the back row. Toro set up, back set. Ball's out. That's an attack error on the Toros. That's a point for St. James, and they trail now 24 to 18. Trojans mounting a comeback. Olsey floats one into the middle of the defense. Pushed up to the line. Attack play by Lizanne Living. She gets it Olsey. Olsey over to Crow. Blocked at the net. Lizanne Living saves it. Trojans can't get the ball back over. And they lose the first set to Spanish Fort. 18 for the Trojans, 25 for Spanish Fort. We got about a 3-minute intermission between sets. Again, this is a 2 sets out of 3 match. St. James losing this first set 18 to 25 to Spanish Fort. Trojans' overall record coming into this match was 28 wins and 8 losses. Got about a minute left before we'll start the second set. Trojans take the court. The Trojans will start out this second set with Emily Olsey, Ashley White, Kathleen Wright, Lizanne Livens, Bailey Williams, and Carson Ann Crow. And we're ready to play. The Toros take the court. The down referee is checking lineups. Check St. James lineup. The Toros will be serving to St. James to start the second set. Down referees check the lineups. He's about to roll the ball out to the Toros, and we're about to get the second set rolling. Number 9 for Spanish Fort goes back to serve to the Trojans. And here we go. Serve comes in, played by Lizanne Livings. Carson Crow runs in and gets it. Kathleen Wright off the block and out of bounds. That's a point for St. James. Kathleen Wright's second kill. Emily Poundstone comes in for Ashley White. Poundstone will be serving for St. James. Poundstone serves. All right, got a service error to start our serving off with. Side out and a point for Spanish Fort. We're all evened up at 1. Number 12 for Spanish Fort serving to St. James. Hits the tape, dug up by Bailey Williams. She gets it to Carson Ann Crow. Olsey rolls the ball over the defense. Toros set up their offense. Oh, that's a double touch call on their setter. That's a side out and a point for St. James. St. James leading Spanish Fort now 2-1 as Lizanne Livens goes back to serve for St. James. Serve goes into the middle of the back row. Toros set up their attack. Blocked by Kathleen Wright. Ball goes into the net. Point for St. James. That's an attack area by the Toros. St. James leading now 3-1. Living still serving for St. James. Serve goes into the middle of the back row. That one was knuckling. Toros set up their attack. Ball's rolled over, dug up by Livings. Bailey Williams gets it saved to Carson Ann Crow. Off the block and out of bounds. Carson Ann Crow's 5th kill. Bailey Williams with the set. Point for St. James. They lead 4-1. Lizanne Living serves it in. Oh, the ball's barely out of bounds. Another service error by the Trojans. Gives a side out and a point to Spanish Fort. St. James still up though by 2. Score St. James 4, Spanish Fort 2. Serve comes in. Ball's out of bounds. A service error by the Toros gives the ball right back to St. James. Alan Browning comes in for Kathleen Wright. Browning will be serving for St. James. Browning floats one into the middle of the Toros defense. They set up their quick attack. Ball's out of bounds. Pushed out of bounds. Point for St. James. St. James leading now 6-2. Browning floats another one in short. Toros set up their attack. Ball's long. Attack error by the Toros gives St. James their 7th point, and they lead Spanish Fort 7-2. Browning floats another short one in. They're getting shorter and shorter. Toros set up their attack. Oh, it's a nice attack by the Toros. That's their 3rd point and a side out to them. St. James with a 4-point lead though. St. James leading Spanish Fort 7-3. As number 7 goes back for Spanish Fort to serve to St. James. Short serve played by Emily Poundstone. Carson Ann Crow will take it off that. Poundstone to Crow in an unconventional way. Carson Ann Crow's 6th kill, and St. James will take a side out. They lead 8-3 as Ashley White comes back into the front row for Emily Poundstone, and Emily Olsey back serving for the Trojans. Olsey floats one in barely over the net. Nicely dug up by the Toros. Had a free ball played by Alan Browning to Olsey. Ashley White. Olsey to Ashley White again. They tip it over our block and onto our side of the court. Point for Spanish Fort. Smart play by them. Side out to Spanish Fort. St. James leading now 8-4 as number 5 for the Toros goes back to serve for them, serving the ball to St. James. A jump serve played by Alan Browning. She gets it to Olsey. Olsey pushes it over to Ashley White. Tipped over the block. Played up by Bailey Williams. She gets it to Olsey. Olsey back. Oh, it's a double hit. Point for the Toros on a double hit on the set. St. James holding on to a 3-point lead now. St. James 8, Spanish Fort 5. Jump serve comes in, played by Alan Browning. She gets it to Olsey. Olsey pushes it over to Crow. That's a kill. Olsey to Crow. Carson Ann Crow's 7th kill of the match, and that gives St. James a 9-5 lead. Carson Ann Crow back serving for St. James. Floats it into the middle of the Toros back line. Ooh, that was a nice attack by the Toros. She hit the ball over our block. Side out to Spanish Fort. St. James with a 3-point lead now. St. James leading 9-6. as number 3 goes back, the libero for Spanish Fort to serve to St. James. She floats one in, played by Carson Ann Crow. She gets it to Olsey, pushes it up to Ashley White, tips it over the block. They're waiting for it. They set up their offense. They tip it over our block. Liz Ann Livings digs it up. Carson Ann Crow hits it over the block. Hits it into the block, and the ball falls on the Toro side for a point for St. James. Kathleen Wright, number 2, comes back in for Alan Browning on the front row as Bailey Williams goes back to serve for St. James. St. James up 10-6. Bailey floats one in to the back row. Sets up their offense. Blocked by Kathleen Wright at the net. Nice block by Kathleen. That gives St. James their 11th point, and they lead Spanish Fort 11-6. That was a nice in-your-face block. Bailey floats one into the back right corner. The Toros set up their attack. Blocked by Ashley White and Kathleen Wright again. Olsey gets the ball back to Ashley White. Dug up by Olsey. Ashley gets the ball back over the net. Oh, nice attack by the Toros. That was a good hustle play by the Trojans to make that ball keep it live. But a side out to Spanish Fort, with St. James leading Spanish Fort 11-7. Number 9 for Spanish Fort goes back to serve to St. James. Jump serve is long. That's a service error by the Toros, giving St. James a side out and their 12th point. Emily Poundstone comes in for Ashley White. Poundstone will be serving for the Trojans. Trojans are up 12-7 over Spanish Fort. Poundstone floats one into the back left. That's an ace. It went off the Toros defender and back to the corner. Point for St. James. That's Poundstone's first ace. St. James up 13-7. She floats one into the left side. Toros set up their attack. Oh, she hits it into our block and out of bounds. Point for Spanish Fort. She's a good hitter. Number 9. Score, St. James 13, Spanish Fort 8. Number 12 for Spanish Fort serving to the Trojans. Jump serve floats in, played by Carson Ann Crow. She gets it at Poundstone. She pushes it up for Olsey, off the block. Poundstone gets the ball back up. Olsey. Liz Ann Livings hits the ball over the block, gets the ball over to the Spanish Fort side. Blocked by Olsey. Play it. Poundstone gets it back to Kathleen Wright, and down it goes. Kathleen Wright's third kill. Nice play by the Trojans to keep it live, keep hammering away. St. James leading now 14-8. Liz Ann Livings goes back to serve for the Trojans. Livings floats one into the middle of the back row. Spanish Fort. This ball's out of bounds. That's an attack error by Spanish Fort. Timeout, Spanish Fort on the court. St. James leading 15-8. Trojans on a roll. St. James breaks huddle, and with the lead on the court, St. James leading Spanish Fort 15-8. Here we go. Liz Ann Livings, number 15, back serving for the Trojans. Floats one into the back right corner. That was a nice play by the Toros defender. Rolled up, played by Liz Ann Livings. She gets it to Poundstone. Poundstone back over to Crow. And the Spanish Fort defenders were in the net. They call for a net violation. They give St. James a point, and they lead Spanish Fort now 16-8. Nice serve by Liz Ann. She put some heat on that one. Nice play by the defender. Poundstone dug it up. The ball got into the net, and St. James couldn't get the ball back over the court. That's a side out, a point for Spanish Fort. St. James holding on to a lead of 16-9 over Spanish Fort. Serve comes in. Into the net. Service error by the Toros gives St. James their 17th point as Alan Browning comes in for Kathleen Wright and will be serving for the Trojans. Trojans are up 17-9 over Spanish Fort. Browning floats one into the middle of the defense. Oh, that's out. That's an ace. Ace for Browning. That's her first ace of the match. St. James is up 18-9. Browning floats another one into the middle of the defense. Toros on their toes. Hits the ball into the net. That's an attack error on the Toros. Timeout, Spanish Fort. Score on the court, St. James 19, Spanish Fort 9. The Trojans with a 10-point lead over Spanish Fort. St. James breaks huddle, takes the court. Alan Browning will be serving for the Trojans. The Toros break huddle and take the court. St. James with a 19-9 lead over Spanish Fort in this second set. Best 2 sets out of 3. Browning floats one into the right side. Get down ball. Oh, it's a nice play by the Toros defender. Free ball played by Olsey. She gets it to Poundstone. Back to Carson Ann Crow in the middle. She hits it back on the back left corner. Oh, nice save by Carson Ann Crow. She gets it to Olsey. Bailey Williams with an attack. Free ball coming to St. James, played by Browning. She gets it to Poundstone, pushes it over to Carson Ann Crow. Off the block and down. Carson Ann Crow's 8th kill. St. James takes a 20-9 lead. Nice play there by the Trojans. Nice hustle play on offense. Trojans are up 20-9 over Spanish Fort. Browning floats one into the middle of the back row. Oh, it's a nice attack by the Toros attacker. Point for Spanish Fort. Nice angle. Side out to Spanish Fort with St. James leading Spanish Fort 20-10. Number 7 for Spanish Fort goes back to serve to the Trojans. Ball comes in, played by Carson Crow. She gets it to Poundstone, back to Crow in the middle. Ball's played by the right side defender. Browning gets the ball up, gets it to Poundstone, back sets it to Bailey Williams, pushes it over the block. Alan Browning saves it, gets it to Poundstone. Poundstone back to Crow, she rolls it over the block. Toro set up their attacker. Blocked at the net by Carson Ann Crow and Emily Olsey. Oh, saved again by Carson Ann Crow. Oh! Roseanne Livens tried to get the ball back up. The ball hit on our side of the court. Good hustle play. Good hustle play by the Trojans there. Point to Spanish Fort. St. James leading now 20-11. Ball comes over the court. Roseanne Livens gets the ball up. Poundstone pushes it up to Bailey Williams on the net. Ball's blocked. Bailey Williams pushes it up. Alan Browning gets it over to Olsey. Olsey gets the ball over. Pushed up. Bailey Williams pushes the ball up. Oh, it's a double hit. Doggone it. Double hit called on St. James. Point for Spanish Fort. A good hustle play again by the Trojans, but point goes to Spanish Fort. St. James leading 20-12. Floater serve pushed up by Carson Ann Crow. Ball's pushed up, saved by Poundstone. Carson Ann Crow gives it a lick over the net. Blocked at the net. Poundstone tried to save it, but the ball goes out of bounds. Point for Spanish Fort. St. James has a 7-point lead now. Score St. James 20, Spanish Fort 13. Serve comes in, played by Alan Browning. Olsey tried to save it up in the stands, but the ball goes out of bounds. Timeout St. James. St. James holding on to a 6-point lead. St. James 20, Spanish Fort 14. Spanish Fort breaks her huddle and takes the court. Number 7 for Spanish Fort will be serving to the Trojans. St. James still leading Spanish Fort 20-14. St. James breaks huddle, takes the court. We're going to have the ball back. St. James again, St. James 20, Spanish Fort 14. Ball comes in, played by Carson and Crow. She gets it to Poundstone, back to Crow in the middle. Ball's blocked. We're going to call a lift on St. James. That's the right call, but a tough call. Point to Spanish Fort. St. James with a 5-point lead now, 20-15. Ball comes in, played by Allen Browning. Poundstone pushes. Ball falls on St. James' side of the court. St. James up by 4 now, 20-16. Floater serve played by Lizanne Livings at the net. Poundstone tries to save it. St. James now with only a 3-point lead. They lead Spanish Fort 20-17. We're having a hard time serve receiving. Serve comes in, hits the net. St. James hits the ball up and it goes out of bounds. St. James 20, Spanish Fort 18. We got a 2-point lead now. Ball comes in, played by Olsey. She gets it to Poundstone, back sets it to Carson and Crow in the middle. Nice overpass by Spanish Fort, goes to Carson and Crow. She hits the ball off a blocker and goes out of bounds. Point for St. James. Ashley White comes in for Emily Poundstone, and Emily Olsey will be serving for the Trojans. She floats it into the back left corner. We got a free ball coming over, played by Allen Brown, and she gets it to Olsey. Back sets it to Ashley White over the block and down. Ashley White's second kill. St. James up now 22-18 over Spanish Fort. Olsey floats another one into the back of the Trojans defense. Oh, it's a nice attack. Nice attack by the Toros there. Side out to Spanish Fort. St. James leading still 22-19. We got to have the ball back here. Hit it in the net. Ball comes in, played by Allen Brown, and she gets it to Olsey. Back sets it over to Carson and Crow on the right side. That's a kill for Carson and Crow on the right side. That's her 10th kill. Nicely played ball. St. James 23, Spanish Fort 19. Carson and Crow serving for the Trojans. She floats it into the back left corner. Ball back set, dug up by Allen Browning. Overpass and put down by Spanish Fort. Side out to them. St. James holding on to a 3-point lead now. The score is St. James 23, Spanish Fort 20. Number 3, the libero for Spanish Fort, serving to the Trojans. She floats it in there, played by Allen Brown, and she gets it to Olsey. Back sets it to Bailey Williams. Bailey hits it to the back row. Pushed over, played by Carson and Crow. St. James couldn't get the ball back over the net. We're down to 2-point lead. St. James 23, Spanish Fort 21. Serve comes in, hits the net. Lizanne Livings gets it to Olsey. Olsey back to Lizanne Livings. Blocked at the net, and she hit it out of bounds. Timeout, St. James. We got a 1-point lead now, folks. 23-22 in favor of St. James. We need 2 points. This is the second set of a best 2 out of 3 match. The Toros break huddle. They're trailed by 1. Trojans stack it up. Trojans take the court. Fight's the word. Fight. We need to fight. Push 2 points right here. St. James leads Spanish Fort 23-22. Number 3, the libero for Spanish Fort, serving to the Trojans. She serves it in. Lives and Living gets it to Olsey. Olsey to Ashley White. She pushes it over the block. Played by Carson and Crow. She gets it to Olsey. Back sets it to Ashley White. She tips it over the block again and out of bounds on Spanish Fort side. Point to St. James. Nicely played by Ashley White. Kathleen Wright comes in for Alan Browning. Bailey Williams serving for the set. Point for the Toros. St. James still at set point. St. James 24, Spanish Fort 23. Serve comes in. Ace for the Toros, and it's all tied up at 24. St. James 24, Spanish Fort 24. Serve comes in and out of bounds. Point for St. James and a very well needed side out. Emily Poundstone comes in for Ashley White. Poundstone serving for St. James. We're at set point again. St. James 25, Spanish Fort 24. Poundstone hits a knuckleball back to the back right. Nicely dug up by Carson and Crow. Lizanne Livens gets it over. Poundstone hits the ball over the net. And that's a kill for Poundstone to win it. Emily Poundstone with a kill. St. James takes the second set from Spanish Fort. St. James takes the second set from Spanish Fort 26-24. This third and final set. Third and final set will be playing to 15. This is where you see who really wants to win it. Trojans battled and battled, and they kept the lead pretty much the second half of that set. But the Toros came back, fought back, tied it at 24. We got about 2 minutes before we're going to start this third set, and we're playing to 15, so we got to start out ahead. Get ahead, stay ahead. We got about 20 seconds left before we're going to start this third and final set of this match. Again, Spanish Fort won the first set over St. James 25-18. St. James won the second set 26-24. And we're playing 2-15. We're going to see who wants it right here. St. James takes the court. St. James will start with Ashley White, Kathleen Wright, Emily Olsey, Lizanne Livings, Carson Ann Crow, and Bailey Williams. Apparently, Spanish Fort won the toss and will be serving to St. James. The down referee has checked the lineups, and she rolls the ball out to number 12 for Spanish Fort, who will be serving to St. James. We're playing to 15, folks. Ball comes in, played by Carson Crow. She gets it to Olsey. Olsey over to Ashley White. Down the right line, the Toros dig it up. Back set. Blocked at the net by Kathleen Wright. Ashley White runs in, gets the ball to Emily Olsey. Lizanne Livings gets it over the block. Nicely dug up by Carson Crow. Emily Olsey hustles and gets the ball over. Ashley White gets the ball over on a free ball. Pushed over, played by Lizanne Livings. Olsey back sets to Ashley White. Oh, the ball's long. That was a well-played ball. We just didn't get the point. We didn't get it down. Point to Spanish Fort. They start this third set off leading 1-0. Ball comes in, played by Bailey Williams. She gets the ball to Olsey. Olsey, Lizanne Livings off the block. Toro set up their attack. Balls roll, pushed up by Livings. Ashley White dives and gets the ball. Oh, Bailey Williams dives and tries to get the ball back up. Point to the Toros. Great hustle by the Trojans. That's all they can do. They're diving all over the place trying to get the ball up. Very well placed shot by the Toros. They lead St. James 2-0. Serve comes in, played by Lizanne Livings. She gets the ball to Emily Olsey. Kathleen Wright hits the ball over the block. Point for the Toros. Nice attack on their part. Spanish Fort 3, St. James 0. Serve comes in, played by Bailey Williams. Olsey pushes the ball, gets the ball over. Ashley White pushes the ball over. Olsey digs up the attack by the Toros attacker. Oh, Bailey Williams tries to save it with her foot. Nice hustle by the Trojans. Hey, they're hustling hard. They're down 4-0, but they are hustling every play. Serve floated in, played by Carson Crow. She gets the ball to Olsey. Lizanne Livings tips it over the block and down. Lizanne Livings with the kill, and St. James first point, side out St. James, as Emily Poundstone comes in for Ashley White, and Poundstone serving for the Trojans. We're down 4-1. Poundstone floats it into the right side. That's a double hit. Double hit called on the Spanish Fort setter. Point for St. James. We're down by 2 now. The score: Spanish Fort 4, St. James 2. Poundstone floats it into the left side. Free ball to St. James. Ball goes to Olsey. Olsey to Poundstone. Poundstone to Lizanne Livings. Ball's blocked, dug up by Carson Crow. Poundstone gets the ball over to Kathleen Wright. Bailey Williams saves it to Carson Crow. Lizanne Livings rolls the ball over, and the ball's long. Point to the Toros. It's a nice save by Bailey Williams, a one-handed save. Keep the ball live. St. James is down 5-2. As number 2 for Spanish Fort goes back to serve to the Trojans. Serve floats in, played by Carson Crow. She gets the ball to Poundstone. Poundstone to Olsey. Hits the net and rolls over. That's a kill for Olsey. You gotta love it when it hits the tape, rolls down the net, and falls down. Lizanne Livings goes back to serve for St. James. St. James trailing 5-3. Livings floats it down the left line. That's long. Service error by the Trojans gives Spanish Fort a side out, and they lead St. James 6-3 in this third set. Number 7 for Spanish Fort serving to the Trojans. Serve comes in, played by Lizanne Livings. She gets the ball to Poundstone. Poundstone to Crow, into the block, and blocked it down onto St. James' side of the court. St. James trails now 7-3. Serve comes in, it's a floater serve. Carson A. Crow gets it to Poundstone. Poundstone to Olsey. Boom! Back set to Olsey, that's a kill. Poundstone to Olsey. St. James, that's their 4th point. Alan Browning comes in for Kathleen Wright, and Browning will be serving for St. James. Allen floats one into the middle of the Toros defense. Set up their attack. Nice setup by the Toros. Very well set up by their offense. Point to Spanish Fort, and they lead St. James now 8-4. St. James calls a timeout. Score on the court, Spanish Fort 8, St. James 4. We got to get the ball back. The Toros break huddle. Trojans break huddle. Take the court. Again, St. James trails by 4. Spanish Fort 8. St. James 4. Number 5 for Spanish Fort back serving to the Trojans. Jump serve comes in, played by Lizanne Livings. She gets it to Poundstone. Poundstone pushes it up to Carson Crow. It's blocked at the net and goes out of bounds. Point to the Toros. Point to St. James. That's what I thought. The ball hit the block on the Toros side and went out of bounds. That's a point for St. James. Ashley White comes in for Emily Poundstone as Emily Olsey back serving for the Trojans. St. James down by 3. Olsey floats one into the middle of the back row. Oh, that's a point for St. James. The Toros couldn't get the ball back over. Spanish Fort 8, St. James 6 as Emily Olsey's back serving for St. James. Olsey floats another one into the middle of the back row. Back row attack set up, dug up by Alan Browning. Olsey sets it up. Lizanne Livings hits it. Ball's long. Score, Spanish Fort 9, St. James 6. Is number 3, the libero for Spanish Fort, goes back to serve. Ball's floated in. Carson M. Crow plays it. Gets the ball over the net. Toro set it up. Lizanne Livings gets it off the block. Gets it to Olsey. Back to Carson M. Crow. Off the block. They're waiting for it. They set it up. Alan Browning digs the ball up. Gets the ball to Olsey. Back over to Carson M. Crow. Put some heat on that one. Back row attack by the defender. Trojans couldn't get the ball back over. A nice attack by the Toros. They lead St. James now 10-6. Number 3, libero for Spanish Fort serving to the Trojans. Nice serve played by Lizanne Livings. She gets it. Olsey back set to Carson and Crow on the right side. That's Carson and Crow's 11th kill. Side out to St. James. Kathleen Wright comes back into the game in the front row for Alan Browning. Well, Carson and Crow serving for St. James. Floats it into the middle of the back row. Toros set up their attack, blocked at the net. Olsey digs it up. Bailey Williams pushes it over to Lizanne Livings. Point for Spanish Fort. The ball hit the line. Girl just swung. Spanish Fort player dove and swung at it, and he went over the net and hit the cross-court line on St. James' side. Timeout St. James with the score on the court. Spanish Fort 11, St. James 7. Both teams take the court. Spanish Fort leading St. James now 11-7. Number 9 for Spanish Fort serving the ball to St. James. Ball comes in, played by Lizanne Living. She gets the ball to Olsey. Backs it up. Ashley White in the middle. Bangs it off the block, and the ball goes out of bounds. That's a point and a side out for St. James. Bailey Williams, number 14, back serving for the Trojans. Floats it into the right side. Overpass. Olsey pushes the ball up. St. James pushes the ball back over the net, but it's out of bounds. That's a point to Spanish Fort. St. James trails by 4 now. Spanish Fort 12, St. James 8. As number 12 goes back to serve for Spanish Fort. Serve comes in, played by Carson Ann Crow. She gets it to Olsey. Olsey back sets it to Lizanne Living. She tips it over the block. Dug up by Olsey. Carson Ann Crow rushes in to set up Ashley White on the right side. Point down the line. Ashley White with a kill on the right side. Point for St. James and a side out as Emily Poundstone comes back in the game for Ashley White. Poundstone will be serving for the Trojans. They trail by 3. Spanish Fort 12. St. James 9. Poundstone floats it into the middle of the defense of the Toros. They set up their attack. Oh, that's a nice attack. She hit it over our block. Point for Spanish Fort. The Toros lead the Trojans now 13-9. Serve comes over and into the net. Oh, we needed that bad. Service error for Spanish Fort gives St. James a side out and a point. St. James trails by 3 now. Spanish Fort 13, St. James 10. Lizanne Living serving for St. James. Back sets. Wow. It's a nice attack. That gets us to set point, match point for Spanish Fort. They lead St. James now 14-10. Serve comes in. Ace for the Toros. St. James loses the third set to Spanish Fort, 10-15. It's a great effort by the Trojans on a very well coached, very well talented Spanish Fort team. And we will play, I think, the number 3 team from Pool B. Not sure which court that will be, but we'll see you guys in just a little bit. We may have to change gyms, but I hope not.